So here I have my colors laid out on my glass palette. I have titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium red light, burnt umber, and ultramarine blue. This is kind of the basic palette that I always use. Sometimes I'll use, instead of this light red, I'll use a darker red like some kind of alizarin or other dark red. So that can be useful depending upon the scene. And it's all personal preference depending on what you paint and what you're comfortable with and what kind of range in your colors you want to achieve. Here is the still life, quick still life that I set up. And I'm going to be showing you how I mix most of the basic colors in this and how I'd go about painting this. So first off, let's start with kind of the main focal point is that orange or the little tangerine. So I think I want to start there. And basically what I would go about doing is I would kind of break down the tangerine. So there's a light section of the tangerine and then there's a shadow section. And basically and there's also some dark accents down at the bottom underneath the tangerine. So there's a little bit going on there, and that's almost how every object in the still life is going to be. There's going to be a light, there's going to be a shadow, there's going to be some reflected light, just a lot of different things going on, really subtle things. So we first look at a tangerine, it's orange. So what is orange? It's red and yellow, we know that. So take some yellow, and we'll mix that with a little touch of red, not much, because red is really strong. So mixing those together will give you a really strong orange. Now, looking at that tangerine, it's really not that strong of an orange. This orange is really powerful. I'm not sure how the camera's picking it up, but in real life, I mean, that is really a saturated orange, as saturated as you're going to get. And the tangerine is really much more yellow. So adding some more yellow to that. So that's kind of the light of it. But also, one thing that you probably want to do is actually, learning to mix grays. And I'm going to get into that a little bit here shortly. Really graying down colors. And the reason for this limited palette is the harmony that you can achieve with it. And what that means is that using red, yellow, and blue for almost every mixture that you create. So adding just a touch of blue to this will tone down that orange so that it's not so strong, and that you'll get more of a grayish orange that way, and that will harmonize the painting but also come across more realistically, and you have room to bump it up in saturation if you wish to, but really I think reserving your colors is going to be is just going to be better in the long run. I mean, that's personal preference. It's all kind of about taste, but just having a little touch of blue in there really tone that down, and that's actually more of the color I'm looking for anyway. And you can add a little touch of white to lighten it up for lighter areas and more variation. And you're going to need to lighten it up anyway, so you can use white and yellow. And adding the burnt umber there is really a personal preference, and I'll get into that, but you can really just use the three primaries, the red, yellow, and blue, and white. You don't have to use the burnt umber. But that's really a convenience for me, and I'll show you that when we mix up some darks. So there's kind of the light of the tangerine, and getting into the darker colors. So how do you darken this color? Well, there's only two ways to darken it, either red or blue, and I'm going to add both actually. And usually on like oranges and tangerines, it gets more red in the shadows. It gets a little warmer depending on the light. So we darken this down with some red and blue, and that'll give you a brown color, warm brown color. And really there's no right or wrong way to get to this color. I could just add some burnt umber if I wanted to this light mixture, and then adjust it from there. I can add blue if I need it cooler, I can add red if I need it warmer. So I get to the same color basically. you know, it's just getting to that color. It's not a right or wrong way to mix. So there's that. That's more of the shadow color. And then the dark accent underneath it is going to be really dark color, something like that. That just has all the primaries in them, in it. And you can even throw burnt umber in there if you want. Even adding white in it is going to be good. Just getting that keying your painting and not getting super dark on it. You know, there's just different ways to go about it. So that's the tangerine. That's how you mix up the tangerine, getting some of that light back in there, some of this lighter color. So you can see the whole range. So we have the light, the shadow, darker accent. There's probably some cooler reflected light in there somewhere. And to do that, I mean, it's just a little bit of blue with some white, and just getting it to the temperature that you need. Temperature is really important. So there would kind of be like a reflected light in there to cool it down and really turn the form. So just a lot of variation, getting the varieties in there, and the variation is going to be important as well to creating realistic color mixtures. Now moving on, kind of the red cloth there it's not a super powerful red. So we're going to start out with this really strong red. But what you're going to want to do is tone that down. So you're going to use its complement to tone that down. You're going to use green. So what that means is you're going to use yellow and blue. So you're going to use the other two primaries to tone that red down and really gray it off. And then adding white to it, or yellow, white and yellow, to lighten it in areas, or adding some more red back into it to get the light areas of it. This is more the shadow right here, and then the lighter areas that's in where the light is shining. You know, something like that. You know, red's kind of difficult because you don't want it to turn pink, but you don't want it to be a super strong red either, because it won't read with the rest of your painting. You want to have this harmony, and the way to do that is just to have these three colors in almost every mixture, and that's going to give you the harmony. So you can already start to see just the harmony here. And then getting some of the dark accents with that red. You just go about it the same way. So you just get that dark red again. With all three of the primaries in it. Then there's kind of the dark accent for the red cloth. You can even add a little bit of burnt umber in there to warm it up if you need to. Cool it down, you just add more blue. So you can have cooler areas of this. Even in the light, you can cool it down a little bit where you need to, just by adding some blue. Okay. So see, don't be afraid of mixing color. And if you get something wrong, just scrape it up or wipe it off and try again. So let's get into the white object now, that white cup. Because the only other thing we have is the red bowl, and that's pretty much the same as this. So, and then we'll hit the background too, which is a gray, and then I'll get into how to mix grays and such. But this white object is actually gray too. So we're going to start with white, but it's not a pure white object. You're not going to use pure white like that. You're going to gray it down. So right now my brush was already dirty. Had some dirty color on there, so just add that to it. So now it's kind of this pinkish tone. This pinkish gray, white. And you can just add some blue and some yellow in there. You just keep kind of bending the color, pushing it around, and you get more of a warm, you can get a warm gray. So that's more of a warmish type of gray. I can cool it down with blue. So I can have a cooler gray. If you need to lighten it up more, just add more white. So there's more of a cooler gray, there's a warmer gray. And there's different ways to get to the grays. You can either mix all three of these primaries, or kind of what I do. Well, the reason I have this burnt umber here is because it's real convenient. I can just go straight into, I can get blue, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber. And this will actually, I can get a black from this, a real deep, and depending on how much blue I have into it, how much burnt umber, I can make a warmer black. I can even add red into it if I want, and yellow, just to get all three of the primaries in there. And it's really hard to see what color that actually is. So you add white to it, and then you'll see that it's actually gray. So burnt umber and blue will give you this gray color. And that's kind of a cooler gray, so I can warm that up. I'm gonna add a little bit of red in there. Can really warm that up. Can lighten it up. So understanding how these colors are going to react, so I can have this gray. Now I can, I can mix it with this gray and get a lighter gray. But now, see, that's kind of the convenience here. So if I needed to gray down this red a little bit more, I just take some of this gray and throw it right into the red. And that'll gray down the red. So having these grays, it just harmonizes everything. So this is kind of the harmony of this painting. Are these oranges, the reds, these grays. There's a little bit of blue on the red cloth. You can either keep that out or leave it in. But it's a really strong blue in the photo. But I, myself, would not paint it that way. I would start out with the blue and probably some white. And it's actually a little bit greener than that. So what you can do is add some yellow to it. But then you get kind of a strong green. It's already kind of graying it down. Add more blue back in it. Little touch of red just to kind of gray it off a bit. But see, it wouldn't really be a strong blue if you wanted to harmonize with everything. I mean, you can paint it realistically how it actually is, but I don't think it would harmonize as well with the rest of the painting. So really toning it down like this, it'll read in the painting as green or blue-green, but it won't be super strong. And really with this palette, I can't even mix a super strong green like that. So it kind of eliminates the problem altogether. But see, this would be kind of a greenish blue compared to the rest of this scene. So you can add just a little bit of that within your red and within your red cloth there, and it'll come across as reading correctly. It just won't be super powerful as the photograph or as your setup. But that's not really what you're trying to do. You're not trying to paint the exact color. You're trying to harmonize everything, create a harmony, and this kind of has that. So these grays are very important, and I've known this for a while, and it takes a while of learning it and understanding it, and just playing around like this, mixing your colors, setting up a still life. People think you have to have some elaborate setup. I mean, get a cup and a small lamp. You can buy a small lamp from Target or any store for 10 bucks, 15 bucks, and go get a cup and light up your cup, or put a shirt underneath your cup to create a color for your cloth, and then just start painting. Start painting what you see. And, getting these grays in there is really going to help harmonize everything and really paint realistically instead of I could paint, some people probably would have painted the cloth with just straight red and that would have been the cloth color. But you see how strong that is compared to all of this. And that if I had that in my painting, that strong red, it's not really going to hold, the painting's not really going to hold together very well. Especially with the orange as well. If I have the orange or the tangerine in there, and I used a strong orange, well, it's kind of dirty now, but if I had this strong orange color in there as well, it doesn't harmonize with the rest of this. See what I'm saying? So you have these strong colors that really don't belong in the scene. And I mean, you can push it, see how far you can push that red and really knock it up a little bit. Increase the saturation. See how far can you push that red. But you don't want it to stand out so much. So just graying it off, mixing up some gray, burnt umber and blue, and a little touch of white, and throwing gray in there will just help it come across realistically. It creates a lot of harmony, and you can just get little bits of variety here and there. And that's what's going to create realistic images, and that's what's going to help your color mixing over time. So I hope this made sense, and I hope it helped you a little bit to understand that a limited palette, it does limit your ability here and there for the range of colors you're able to get and to achieve, but it also it creates a harmony within your work, and that's what's important, the harmony, the variety, and creating a realistic image rather than copying exactly what you're seeing. Because with painting, we don't want to copy exactly what we're seeing. We want to kind of design and create an image and use certain color mixtures that are going to work together, warms and cools. So, you know, achieving the value range that you want first. You know, how dark are you going to go in your painting and your work? So are you going to get anything is there going to be something that's this dark, or is it going to be just a little bit lighter? So that could be the darkest dark in the work. It could be too dark, so you lighten it up a little bit. And then figuring out how light you're going to go. You know, are you going to have something in the painting that's this bright, this light, or is it going to be toned down more? So understanding the value structure and also the temperature, the cools and the warms, those are actually way more important than the actual hue of the color. You know, if I get this red on the cloth just a little bit off, but I get the temperature correct, the temperature is going to be a little more important than the actual red tone of it. It'll come across as red, but getting the actual temperature and the subtle value shifts and subtle temperature shifts, like cooling it down or warming it up. So those are going to read, your eye's going to catch those a little bit more than just the color red that it is. Anyway, these are just suggestions and just things that I try to think of when I'm painting, and I hope it helped you out a little bit. Hope it made sense. If you have any questions, post them down below. I'll make another video like this, just mixing up some color and giving you my thoughts. And anyway, this would be the background color, kind of a grayish tone, and then you get a dark for the black down in the bottom corner. It's just blue and burnt umber, little touch of white maybe. You don't want to go completely dark. Try to keep just determine what key you want and stick with it. It's all personal preference, playing around, understanding color and the values and the color temperature. So anyway, thanks for watching. And good luck with your color mixing. Good luck with your painting. Have fun. Don't get discouraged. Take care of yourself. Peace.